Solving multi-step equations are just when you have to do more than one or two things to solve an equation. So what you want to do is always look to combine like terms. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to handle if there's parentheses. And then, of course, there's always fraction problems that can sometimes trip people up. So what you want to do is always get your x's together on the same side. So I'm going to combine this. So this is going to be negative 1x plus 6 equals negative 2. So then this turns into a two-step equation, so I'm going to subtract 6 from each side. So I'll have negative x equals negative 8. So this just means the opposite of x equals the opposite of 8. So if I divide both sides by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1, I'm going to get x equals 8. Now I'm not going to show my check, but it's always smart to plug 8 back in and see if it works. See if the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So here's another example. 7 equals, I'm going to combine 4m minus 2m is just 2m plus 1. Now this becomes a two-step equation again, so I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. So I have 6 equals 2m, and I divide both sides by 2. M equals 3. Box it, and then you can check it by plugging it back in. So I always want to make sure that you combine like terms. And then when you have grouping symbols or parentheses, there's a couple ways that you could do this. You could think of it, I'm going to do each one actually. So you can think of, I'll write this out. If you're used to doing the distributive property, you could do the distributive property first. So you're going to get 3k plus 24 equals 42. Add the distributive property and subtract 24. So 3k's equals 18. So k equals 6. That's one way. Another way you can do it, and actually I think it's kind of faster maybe, is just divide by 3 right away. So when you divide by 3 right here, these two will cancel out. So then you're going to have k plus 8 equals 14. That's 42 divided by 3, and then subtract 8, and you get k equals 6. So that might be faster. So if I want to divide by 3 right away, I have to divide by negative 3 on this term, this quantity, and this. So I feel like people will mess up a lot and forget to divide the 9 by negative 3 as well. So I'm actually going to move the 9 over here. I'm going to subtract 9 from each side. So I'm going to have 6 equals negative 3 times x minus 1. And at this point you can either do the distributive property or you can divide by negative 3. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So this is negative 2 equals, this cancels out, x minus 1. And if I add 1 at the end, I get x equals negative 1. So there's a couple different ways that you can treat the parentheses. I feel like most people will do the distributive property, and maybe once they get to algebra 2, they'll start dividing right off the bat. Okay, now with fractions, I'm going to show you technique if there's multiple fractions. In this case, there's just a couple fractions, so I think that the easiest thing to do would just be to get rid of this by adding 3/5 to each side. So now you have 5y equals 4/5 plus 3/5 is 7/5. So we still need to get rid of the 5, so we're going to divide both sides by 5. Now, dividing by 5 and multiplying by 1/5 is the same. So I multiplied both sides by 1/5, so I'm going to multiply this side by 1/5. So then I'm going to get y equals 7/25 is my answer. Because 7/5 times 1/5 is 7/25. over here I'm going to subtract 6 first. So I have to deal with 4/7 minus 6. So in order to do that, I need to get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top by 7 and the bottom by 7. So I have v over negative 8 equals 4/7 minus 42/7. So this is going to be v over negative 8 equals negative 38/7. So to solve, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 8 because that's my denominator. So v equals, now nothing's going to reduce because I can't reduce diagonally this way and I can't reduce vertically. So it's not going to reduce. So I need to do 38 times 8, which is 304 over 7. So because there's fractions in the problem, I want to leave my answer as a fraction. That's kind of a rule. So if the problem starts with a fraction, end with a fraction. If it starts with a decimal, end with a decimal. And then clearing fractions. So I'm going to show you a technique to get rid of fractions. What you want to do is look at all of your denominators in your problem. So if you have 2 or more fractions, you can clear fractions. You can clear fractions if you have 1 fraction, I guess, but if you have fractions, you can get rid of them by looking at your denominators and multiplying by the least common multiple of your denominators. So in this case, it's going to be 6. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 6 and the right-hand side by 6. I kept the equation balanced because I multiplied both sides by 6. So what happens is I'm going to do 6 times negative 2/3 x. So the way to do that, a fraction is just multiplying and dividing. Multiplying by the numerator, dividing by the denominator. So I'm going to take 6, divide it by 3, which is 2, and multiply it by negative 2. So that's going to be a negative 4x. Then the second term is 6 times 1/2 x. So that's the same thing as 6 divided by 2, which is 3, times 1 is 3. So this is plus 3x. And then the right-hand side is 6 divided by 1, which is 6 times 7 is 42. So now you have this problem to solve, which is more basic than something with fractions. So you can always clear fractions. So I'm going to combine like terms. So negative 4x plus 3x is x, negative x, equals 42. So x has to be equal to negative 42. Okay, let's try this one over here, clearing fractions. So I'm going to look at my denominator, and I have to think of numbers that 20, 15 go into. So the number that all of them go into is 60. And if you chose 120, that still works too. It's still going to be the same answer. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 60 and the right-hand side by 60. So then I'm going to do 60 divided by the denominator, so divide denominator, and multiply it by the numerator. So 60 divided by 20 is 3, this is 3a. Then I do 60 divided by 15 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16. 60 divided by 15 is 4, 4 times 9 is 36. And now I'm going to solve this one. So I subtract 16, so I get 3a equals 20. A equals 20 over 3. And that's okay, leave it. It's a fraction. We started with a fraction. It's fine. Okay, and then down here, a couple word problems. The equation B equals 85 plus 23W gives the amount of money B in your bank account after W weeks. How many weeks, so we're trying to solve for W, from now will you have 175 in your bank account? So you have 175 in your bank account, so that's B, and you're going to solve for W. So to solve for W, you subtract 85. So I do 175 minus 85, and I get 90. So 90 equals 23W. And that is about 3.9 weeks. So I'm going to round to the nearest. The next week is going to be 4 weeks. So you always want to answer with a unit. So after 4 weeks, I'll have that much money in my bank account. 3 friends go bowling. The cost per game is $5.30 and the cost to rent shoes is $2.50 per person. Their total cost is $55.20. How many games did they bowl? How many games? So this tells me my variable is G. So we know that when you rent shoes to go bowling, that costs the same no matter what. You're not going to buy new shoes for each game. So if there's 3 people and shoes are $2.50, the shoes are going to be 3 times $2.50. So the shoes are going to be $7.50. We know the total is going to be $55.20. But then we also know that it costs $5.30 per game. So it's going to be 5.30 games plus $7.50. So we subtract $7.50 from each side. So 5.3G equals 55.2 minus 7.5, 47.7, and divide by 5.3. So it's 9 games. And then the last one, Martha takes her niece and nephew to a concert. She gets t-shirts and bumper stickers for them. Each bumper sticker costs $1. Martha's niece wants 1 t-shirt and 4 bumper stickers, while her nephew wants 2 shirts and no bumper stickers. If Martha's cost is $67, what's the cost of 1 t-shirt? So this is our variable, cost of a t-shirt. We'll let that be T. We know that a bumper sticker is $1. So we're going to represent the total is 67. So Martha's niece wants 1 shirt and 4 bumper stickers. So that's going to be 1 shirt plus a bumper sticker is $1. So that's going to be $4. Plus nephew wants 2 shirts, so 2T plus no bumper sticker. So that would just be $0. I don't even need to write that in. So now I'm going to solve this. I'm going to combine like terms. So T plus 2T is 3T plus my money, which is 4, equals 67. And then I'm going to solve. So 3T equals 63. Divide by 3. T has to be $21. So we're talking about the cost of a t-shirt, so you need to answer in money.